The No Nonsense Roundtable, a weekly radio show and podcast where host Dom Genova interviews guests from all walks of life, all with amazing stories to tell. And now, here's your host, Dom Genova.
Hi, my name's Dom Genova, and I am the host of a show here in Rochester, New York on WYSL Radio, and a podcast as well, and it's called the No Nonsense Roundtable. Now, the No Nonsense Roundtable is a show about people you know you want to know more about, and people that you don't know that you should know. And it's an hour-long program, but every once in a while we find a section of it that is worth carving out because it's either entertaining or very informative. And sometimes you find people that go on the record with things that you need to know about. And that's one of these segments right here. It's called On the Record with Bob Duffy. Now, Bob Duffy, if you don't know Bob Duffy, he was a police officer here in Rochester, New York. Then he was police chief. Then he was mayor of Rochester, New York. Then he was lieutenant governor of New York State. And now he is the president and CEO of the Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce. And the topic today, well, is about social networking and what's happening online and people's attitudes or whatever. I call it social media myopia. And he gives a very, very good talk about what his personal philosophy is about, well, being online and well, maybe the things that you should consider before you do something online. So listen, and if you like, well, please like and share. Thanks. Well, welcome everybody to another edition of your No Nonsense Roundtable. Here every week, and each of the shows, as I like to say, are on nononsenseroundtable.com, and you can download them anytime that you want. And today, it is a tradition, and I am grateful to have this gentleman on the show, and everybody knows him. His name is Bob Duffy. Bob, thank you once again for coming on the show. He kicks off the first show of the year. He's done this since 2019.
Thank you. I am honored to be on the show every year at the new year, and always hopeful for even a better year in 26 than we had in 25.
Well, the thing is that having you on the show encourages other people to come on the show, because if he can come on the show, certainly I can come on the show. There's an expression I used to use when I was selling cars to dealers is, you tie a pork chop around your neck to get the dog to play with you. Maybe that's a little crude, but if you get Bob Duffy on your show, well, then it's a legitimate show, because people that don't know you, and there's not that many people that don't know you, I can tell people that. So I have a police officer on the show. I have a police not a sheriff. There's a sheriff. You were chief of police for the Rochester city of Rochester. Okay, different than a sheriff. And then you were the mayor of Rochester. And then you were lieutenant governor, and now you've gone on to this career, which has got to be very, very interesting, of being the president and CEO of the Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce. Are you ever going to stop?
I have been very lucky. Obviously, I cannot hold a job down for very long. But Dom, I'll tell you what, I've been very lucky. I have worked around with and for great people throughout every one of those careers, and learned a lot. I've never looked back. I loved every one of them. People ask me, which one do you like the best? Mm-hmm. I've loved them all. I really have. And the chamber world has just been a world that is fascinating to me. As you know, New York State is not the easiest state to do business in, so it's a constant fight, but we rely on relationships. We work with both sides of the aisle, and, as we've said in the past, I tend not to criticize anybody publicly ever. We work with everybody. I represent 1,300 people, 1,300 businesses in the region. We have to go to, our federal leaders, our state leaders, our local leaders, elected officials, for issues that affect our businesses. And I've learned one thing, having worked for many elected officials in the past, if you criticize somebody publicly, they usually forget about 30 years later. So at a minimum. So, and I get asked all the time, Bob, you got to speak out on this, speak out on that. I have my opinions. I share those to people that need to hear those. But I just tend not to be, in that sea of negativity publicly.
Excuse me, I got a little bit of a cough today. But, that begs the question. And I've said it on the show a couple of times. There's only two ways of getting something done. It's either cooperation or domination. I'm not going to make a comment, about Trump, or you like Trump, you don't like Trump, or whatever. But he's in a position now, over the year, we've found out that he has all three parts of the government, pretty much on his side, and he can do whatever he wants to do. Now, this is not to say he's doing anything right or wrong, but that's just the way things work. Okay. Back in the day with Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill, it was a little bit different back then, and that era seems to be kind of lost and gone, and it's kind of amplified over this year, don't you think?
Oh, I agree. I go back to the point I made before. I cringe every time somebody in authority in New York State criticizes the president publicly or files a lawsuit for one reason. The president will not forget that. And so we rely on New York State getting aid from Washington.
Right.
And whether you like somebody or not, you're not going to win fighting and criticizing somebody publicly. You can disagree. And I would say get into a room and agree and disagree, but an elected official's role is not to serve their party. It's to serve the people that put them in office. And if they compromise that by making their whatever statements they want to make for political purposes, but in many ways then disenfranchise those who put them in office for funds being cut or programs being cut, I think you have to take a look and rethink that strategy, whether you like somebody or not.
Well, I'll tell you a story, because this lately it's been driving me crazy. But I'll tell you what the genesis of this is that when I first started out the show, I had Mark Cassini on the show. Great guy. And I had a co-host. And the co-host is saying, now, grant you, he's the co-host, right? And he's saying, Mark Cassini, Rochester did themselves a disservice when they didn't elect you. That Louise Slaughter is a such and such and a such and such. And I got to tell you, and during the break, I was like, I got to sell cars to Republicans and Democrats. What are you doing to me? I can't. It is like, well, I have my opinion, my brands. I go, yes. But I have to sell cars to people that have different political views with me. And the thing that I've seen, this is where I'm going with this. The thing I've seen lately, because I've been getting a little involved with the music business in Rochester and whatever. As a matter of fact, my new Facebook page or group is Rochester Music Mafia. So it's like the Bills Mafia, right? It's not a negative thing; it's a positive thing. And I see that a lot of performers, like, I gotta say what's right. It's like this Jimmy Kimmel thing. I gotta say what's right and whatever. Well, can you afford to lose a certain section of your audience because you feel compelled to make a political statement? Now, if you can do that, if you're Bruce Springsteen, you can do that. I mean, you got enough juice that's not going to make a difference. But if somebody's going to be asking me to give a donation or buy tickets or sponsor a show, and this fellow or gal is going trashing, people that I don't want to offend, it has an effect. And I think a lot of people just don't understand that the dynamics of that. Like you said, when you say something negative to a politician, it takes 30 years for them to forget. Oh my God.
That's the minimum. But Dom, I feel about it this way. Going back to the last election, when actors or actresses tell us who to vote for or who to not vote for, I guess turnaround is fair play. Do we then tell them, hey, you shouldn't make any more movies because the last movie stunk? We don't like that. No, I mean, I think if people kind of stay in their lane and nobody really cares what a certain actor, performer It takes who we should vote for. We all have our own opinions. And just like if the president or somebody in Congress or the Senate said, hey, don't listen to this kind of music, I would just ignore it. But I think the world today is everybody looks for clicks and followers and jumps in and says things. And in the end, like I said before, when you are serving people, say in elected office, say in New York State, Rochester, or anywhere, and you are criticizing the person who holds the purse strings for your area in many ways, I would say you are doing a great disservice by criticizing that person publicly, as opposed to going to meet with he or she, express your opinions, here's what I think, and maybe get to yes on some issues. But that's not the way of the world today. And, if you, again, just like if you end up supporting an elected official others don't like, they may choose not to support your business, what have you. And, the one thing I have to do is be, quote unquote, Switzerland. I get along both sides of the aisle. I get along with Democrats, Republicans. We respect them. We listen to them. Democrats are now in power in New York State, but we don't turn our back on those on the other side of the aisle. We meet with them, and they're all friends and colleagues. But it changes. In every election, things could change in an instant. And I'll tell you what, people look at the donation list for elected officials and don't think for a minute if they are up for election and they win, they go back and look at every person that donated money to their opponent, and probably maybe not, if not 30 years, maybe they'll forget in about 25 years who donated to their opponent. And sometimes if you're in a business like we are, it's best to stay in our lane, do our business. I have very passionate views about criminal justice and that going on to state taxes, regulatory environment, those issues, energy. But we tend to just pick our spots and reinforce those with people that make decisions. They may agree or disagree, but at least what we're not doing is trying to embarrass them publicly.
Thanks for listening. You can find our previous shows at nononsenseroundtable.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll make more.